Wait, what's going on? Hold on. God damn it, man. God damn it. God damn it. Israel just struck Iran.
Oh,
I know we shouldn't have interrupted like the story about Fetterman, but like
Jesus Christ. Who's reporting this?
Man, what a liability that country is to the United States of America. Total liability, not an ally. Disgusting. Just as the United States was going to enter another round of diplomatic talks with Iran this weekend. Disgusting. This is, look, I don't have an article in front of me. This is Ken Klippenstein, who I obviously trust, posting on X.
Israel declares a state of emergency after striking Iran's capital. How can you hit someone, then scream like you're the one who has been hit? Typical behavior from these bastards. In case you were wondering what U.S. representatives had to say about the event, they all unsurprisingly joined in unison to show their support to Israel. I feel sorry for all Americans. Your government is occupied by the same force which occupies Palestine. These representatives are like literal bots, shelling out the same empty lines, displaying their worship of a foreign nation over their own. You British folk aren't left out of this death cult either. Why is Britain intervening on behalf of a belligerent risking world war? How much does this intervention cost the taxpayer? Why is it never debated in Parliament? If Israel decided to attack Iran, why is Britain protecting Israel? Israel attacks a regional power during U.S. nuclear negotiations amidst a genocide on a captive population, bombing Yemen and Lebanon whilst occupying Syria, and they're still classed as the victims? Fuck these guys. Israel has been stoking a war with Iran since the 90s. They've constantly lied about Iran having nuclear weapons, just like they did with Iraq, and their non-existent weapons of mass destruction, all to provoke the U.S. into an all-out war with Iran. But America didn't take the bait, so Israel is now risking nuclear war in order to get what they've always wanted.
Neither Iran or the United States want to fight each other. It's the Israelis who have been trying to pull the Iranians and the Americans into a fight.
Netanyahu's greatest dream in life is a war between the United States and Iran.
Netanyahu will drag him into the abyss. He wants this war in the Middle East come hell or high water, and it's not in their interest.
What war?
The war with Iran.
We don't want to go to war against Iran. I don't think we should be fighting wars on behalf of Israel.
Make it clear to Netanyahu that he should not be dragging America into war with Iran.
You go fight Iran. We are American people. It's not our problem.
If they start talking to you about fighting a war with Iran, you treat them like an enemy that they are.
We should not go to war in Iran on behalf of Israel.
Against the war with Iran. It's not in America's interest, and many Americans will die, and billions will be spent on a war we don't need to fight.
Everybody wants peace, except Israel.
We are the only country that has ever dropped the atomic bomb. My point is, why on earth would Americans support a war that is going to kill tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Iranian citizens when they don't have the weaponry? And even if they did have the weaponry, that doesn't mean they would use it. I am not promoting Iran having nuclear weapons, but do I think that justifies preemptively murdering tens of thousands of people? No, because the reality is we've been saying for 40 years they were going to have nuclear weapons that they have not had. And even if they did get them, as Russia has, as North Korea has, as Pakistan has, that doesn't mean they're going to use them. Because the reality is we're the only country that has actually used nuclear weapons. The good guys, we're the only country who's done that. So how dare us murder others just in case?
What Israel did to Iran is forever going to change our world because diplomacy is dead. Agreements are dead. There's no international law anymore. Countries can do whatever they want to do, even when it's illegal. They did that with Gaza, Israel, and now they're doing it with other countries. And there's no country that it cannot touch. The fact that Iran was negotiating with the U.S. and they killed the negotiating leaders that they were negotiating with tells you you're dealing with mafia situations where if they see an opportunity to kill you, they will kill you. International law, legality, these are foreign concepts now. And this is going to change the whole world order. Because a lot of countries are looking at this and saying, hang on, there are no rules actually. Why are we adhering to these rules? We're all a threat. If we say the wrong thing that they don't like, if we do something that they don't like, we are going to be targeted. And this is going to push a lot of countries to pursue capabilities that I wish this world would not have. You're going to see more countries going for nuclear, because it seems like nuclear capabilities is the only way to protect your country. They convinced Saddam to take his weapons out, and then even when he took it out, they lied that he had it, even when there was no proof at all, and they took him out. They convinced Libya to remove their mass destruction weapons, and they took him out. The only leaders that no one can really mess with are the leaders that have these weapons that are dangerous. And I'm afraid it's now going to push a lot of countries to pursue such weapons, because they're going to see it as the only defense in this world where there is no diplomacy anymore.
Most Americans would be shocked to know that under international law, Iran would have the ability to enact war on the United States in the event that they get involved in this conflict, which is looking like they are actively moving to do. They already do have the legal justification under international law to retaliate against Israel. And one of the most important classes, a foundational class for my political science degree, is a ethics in warfare class. And to put it to you quite simply, just cause is the idea that if a state experiences an act of aggression from another state, then a state can retaliate by enacting war, because an act of aggression is an act of war. Israel and other Western entities have said that Israel launched a preemptive strike. Under international law, that does not exist. There is no such thing as a preemptive strike. It is an aggression. It is an unlawful and illegal aggression. Another thing that I think most Americans don't understand is that you are actually responsible under the eyes of international law for the government and what they choose to do. Even if you personally didn't vote for them, the fact that the government as a whole has orchestrated or led up to the point where it's going to go and enact war on another country implicates you, because you haven't been able to rally enough support to overthrow that government. In fact, something that a lot of people view as benign or maybe not as important as other acts of aggression inside of war is sanction. But under ethics in war, sanctions are actually the most unethical, because they don't engage the military or the government. They engage the civilian population. They punish the civilian population. But that is actually not the only way that a state is legally allowed to punish the civilian population to incentivize them to overthrow their government. And I'll spare you the details. But essentially what this means is that under international law, you are responsible for the actions of your government. And a state has limited, but certainly quite a wide range of tools that they're legally allowed to use on the population that caused the aggression. I find it very frustrating that a lot of Americans don't have a basic understanding of international law, and I don't think that it's their fault, but I do think that it's their responsibility, because what you're being left with in terms of blame under international law is quite a heavy burden, actually. And I don't necessarily disagree with the law itself, but I think the fact is that if most Americans knew that under international law you actually are responsible for the actions of your government, I think that would shock a lot of people. And this law has been used to manufacture consent for dropping the atom bombs on Japan. So it clearly has some pretty serious implications. And I want you to understand also that atom bombs are not tools that are meant to punish the government or the military. These are genocide bombs. Their purpose is to kill the population. And multiple political officials, both from the United States and Israel, have asked for an atom bomb to be dropped on Gaza. And while there is no international alliance, a military alliance like NATO, the fact is that attacking other people's allies is also an act of aggression. And it can be taken as just cause to go to war with another state. And as Americans, we should probably be very thankful that Iran has some of the most cool-headed leadership I have seen in human history, because they have not reacted even when attacked unprovoked out of nowhere multiple times. It actually has taken multiple different aggressions from Israel for them to react at all. Even though under international law, they have every right. But the thing that makes them different than Western entities is that they actually don't justify under their Islamic law the cost of human life of casualties. And they have explicitly targeted military targets. Oh, and one other thing. Something that I think most Americans don't realize is that Israel is in a lot of ways a tiny version of the United States. That means that all of those bases that are hidden in residential buildings in Israel, I have news for you. Those are just some of my thoughts for tonight that have been knocking around in my head now that I've seen that the United States is potentially going to, unprovoked, get involved in a war with Iran.
But Mom, I don't want to go fight Iranians for Israel.
Joey, don't you dare be anti-Semitic!
I want to go home, sir! You some kind of anti-Semite, Joey!
I don't even know why we were there.
Let's focus on why that thought is anti-Semitic, Joey.
Get a job, loser. Israel needs our taxes.
But I'm not even dead.
That's anti-Semitic, son.
You have just been drafted into the United States military. You're going to see the record for the most people who willingly said, I'd actually rather sit in a jail cell. You're going to find a record amount of people in the United States that if they get that call, there might be some hard decision making, but there will be a record amount of people going, okay, no, I'm good. No. Well, you have to. I don't. The other choice is jail. Okay, I'll sit in there. No, don't be shocked. Well, people are just going to throw their hands up and go, I guess I got to go die in this other country. Nah, their parents and cousins and older siblings and stuff, like they saw how they were when they got back from Afghanistan. Especially after harping on it, how we were done with overseas wars and stuff like that. Do you really think people are just going to forget about that shit? We literally grew up learning about how fucked these wars were. And we're dealing with it again, possibly? You're going to see so many people get that call if it ends up coming, and they're going to go, yeah, no, I'm good. It's going to be a problem.
Wait, I have a serious question. If the United States drafts Americans, typically they would be drafting Gen Z, right? So who do they expect is going to fight this war for them? Because the majority of Gen Z doesn't support Israel. Like, that's kind of when you know you've reached the end of an empire, I guess you could say. I could almost guarantee that Gen Z would be fighting against Israel and the United States and helping out Palestine and Iran if they were drafted.
I just want to say that never in the 32 years on this earth did I think that my veteran first responder ass would be driving home from work, eating stale EMS room Cheez-Its, cheering on Iran. What is life? Free Palestine.